Okay, so till now you've created 7 pages, and in those pages you've created alphabets, and then you did your first vocabulary and table section, and then followed that with ways to teach the table. So that's a lot of content. So that really is almost 80% of your class. But there's something really important left now, and that is the exercise and activity. So after you teach the student the table, then he really should be in a position to use that table to form sentences. What kind of sentences? Sentences which he can use in his daily life. So to help him form these kind of practicable sentences, you have to teach them, a few exercises and activities. You have to explain the application of this table through exercises and activities. So let me give you an example. Okay, so let me give you an example of an exercise first. Okay, so what do we have here? So we have a picture of an Indian celebrity called Deepika Padukone, and around her you could see a few bubbles. Each of them contains a sentence which starts with the I. Okay, so basically what this kind of an activity does is that, let's suppose instead of this person Deepika Padukone here, you would have, let's say, your student. If this was your student's face right here, so then how would he describe himself? So first of all, he would say, I am whatever his student's name is, then your age, then his age, and then where is he from, then what he's feeling now. Let's suppose he's hardworking, so he could say, I'm hardworking. Or let's suppose he's tall, then he could say, I'm tall, I'm hardworking. What are his feelings at the moment? Is he happy? Is he sad? Is he tired? Or is he busy? Something of that sort. So basically the first exercise would be to initiate the student to speak about himself through sentences which he has learned in this table. So he has to speak about himself, his own life, through those sentences which he has learned in this table. So that is what the first exercise is going to be. It would be like a self-introspection for the student, that he has to dig out some information which is not very obvious. Okay, so if your student, let's say, is right now he is shy, then he could say, I am shy. And so he reveals that this quality about himself through a sentence in English which he has learned through this table. Okay, so this is the first exercise. The aim of this exercise is to help the student speak about himself using sentences which he has learned through this table. Okay, now let's see an activity. Activity is a little bit more involving. So this exercise you could do with each of your students. Just do it on an individual. It has to be done on an individual basis. Okay, so each student has to come up with sentences about himself or herself. Now let's look at an activity. Okay, so we have a picture here. This is a picture of a couple. There's a guy and there's a woman, and then the student has to come up with sentences which describe this picture. He has to be imaginative. Okay, so you could do this activity on an individual basis, or you could do this with a group of students. It really does not matter. More the number of students, the better it is, because then you're going to come up with more number of sentences. Okay, so looking at this picture, let's say the students can imagine anything. Let's say the guy's name is whatever, Sunil, the girl's name is Sunitha, and then the guy's age, let's say they say it's 25 and her age 26, and the guy is, what could be his profession? He's an engineer, he's a doctor, and probably she's a teacher. And from their face, can he make out the guy is happy, the girl is also happy, these kind of things. So all these sentences that you come up with from this exercise should be derived from the table. So let's give you a more solid example what I came up with. So he is Rahul. I'm talking about this person here. So I imagine that his name is Rahul. He's 23 years old. He's from Pune in India. He is an engineer. He is nice. Similarly, the girl's name, let's suppose she's Sneha. So she's 22 years old. She's also from Pune. So this is a phrase from Pune, also from Pune, when we did discuss about phrases. Just to revise here in this RAS part, this common phrases part. Okay. Okay. And she is a teacher and she's good. Good really doesn't make sense. You could say she is nice, or she's a good human being, or something of that sort, which fits into that table structure. So this is a group activity. So this differs from this exercise in the sense that the exercise is very individual focused, and it usually involves interaction between the student and the teacher. But for an activity, it involves the interaction between the students also. So lots of different people are going to come up with a lot of different sentences about this picture. So even if a few sentences, don't fall into those grammatical things, into that grammatical structure of this table, still you could write those sentences here. Just to make this more open-ended, just write more sentences here. That's also fine. Okay, so now how are you going to do this in your ebook? Let's look at that. Okay. So your this would be your what page? 8th, yes, yeah. This would be your 8th page. So on the 8th page, you would do your first exercise. Now this exercise is what I have mentioned, and now you know the purpose. So you really have to, be more innovative and come up with your own exercise here, right here. Instead of this picture, there should be another picture, or something of that sort. So the aim of this exercise, as I said, is to enable the student to speak up about himself. Okay, so what other exercise could you think of which would enable the student to speak up about himself? So write that exercise here, whatever that exercise is. Make a cartoon, or draw picture, or speak for a minute. I don't know, these are random things I'm writing here, but something of that sort. It's again a brainstorming kind of thing. So you don't negate any idea, you just write whatever comes to your mind. The aim is simple. The student has to speak up about himself. So that's the exercise. And then the activity example that I came up with here is this. Okay. That activity would go on to your 9th page. So this is just a picture and the students have to describe. So you could just do a Google search and find a more interesting picture. If you can do that, that would be great. Something of that sort you have to do here. So you have to come up with a picture and then think of a few sentences from that picture yourself, and then just write those sentences here. So that would be your activity. And beyond this activity, if you think of another activity which would involve a lot of open-ended English sentences, which would involve helping your students create a lot of open-ended English sentences, then please do write that activity down here. It would be really nice. Okay. So now we are almost there to the end of this book. So probably now is the time to think what all you could achieve using this table. This table which you created just above here. On your 5th page, this table for a couple of your students which you created. So now is the time to really think what else, how powerful this table really is, what kind of things you can achieve from this table. So that is just one of the tables that I showed you. So, and I have a score more about 30 to 40 more tables to go on, and then each of that table builds upon from the table which the student did in the previous lesson plan. So this kind of table series you give to the students, and imagine at the end of, let's say, 20 lectures, he just has a 20-page book in which each page is this table. Still, that would mean the world to your students, because he would be able to form a lot of sentences. So that is the whole idea behind this table approach, that it's very, very powerful. It's very easy for the student to understand and make sentences of his own. So for this table, what we saw there, I just gave you a lot of, we discussed some of the problems what you're going to face while teaching this table. Plus, I also gave you a couple of scenarios in which you could use the sentences from this table. One of them is how you could use the sentences to describe about yourself, and how you could use this sentences from the table to describe about people who are surrounding you, or somebody who if you see a picture. If it's about yourself, you're going to start your sentences with I, and if it's about somebody who is there, a guy standing next to you, could start with he. He is a guy. He is whatever his name is, Sanjeev or whatever. He is 25 years old. These kind of things. So this table just is basically an opener for the student. You just break the ice with the student. You help the student break the ice with the English language. You just show them the power of words in English, that how he could use English, how he could form simple sentences in English to describe about himself and things around him, simple things. So that's it, as part of this video. So think about a few exercises and activities that you can come up with, whatever ideas. You don't have to Google a lot about this. I just want this to be more intuitive, like whatever comes to your mind right now, how you could open up the student, talk about himself, do a group activity. Just write those ideas down, and that would be great.